All right. Hey, everyone. I am here with Christy Murdock. Hi, Christy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so
Good.
much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being on. So, I read your article in Inman and I noticed that you have a company called Writing Real Estate, which is really cool. And I want to talk more about that for sure because as realtors, like we definitely need help with the writing portion because we're all like, la, 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 la. We don't have time to
And
sit
there's
down.
so much. There's
There
just so much
is.
writing that you have to do. Yeah,
You have to be like an author to be a realtor, I feel like.
absolutely.
Anyway, so we'll talk about that. But the article, it was in Inman News. And if
Mhm.
realtors, if you guys don't have a subscription to Inman, like get it, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so good. But your article was about team structures, and you had
yeah,
basically boiled it down to it's like Teams 2.0 to like five
yeah.
different structures. Can you walk us through those?
Sure, absolutely. And I will say this. What I found more than anything was there that everybody is a hybrid.
Right.
So even though we have these categories, that is really just to kind of give us a way to talk about some
Yeah.
of the features. But everybody that I talked to said, "Oh, we have a hybrid model, so
Yeah.
there's no restrictions anymore."
Well, we deal with most of the agents that I deal with and come in contact with. They're doing somewhere between like 35 and 75 deals. So
Yeah,
oftentimes people in this category, we'll say tried to start teams
sure,
in the old
absolutely,
fashioned way. And so like I
right.
like how you laid them out because then it's like, okay, I'll take this from that structure, this from that
Yes.
structure. And like you said, like it opens up your mind to different possibilities. And that's what I really liked about it.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Well, what I found out basically, I'll just kind of go through them each. The
Okay.
first one that I talked about was the mentor mentee. And what
Okay.
I thought was really interesting about this type of team model is that it is not designed to build a team where people come on and stay on forever.
Hmm.
It is really designed to, if you're a newer agent or you're, trying to maybe get into a new niche,
Yeah.
you come in, you work with somebody who's experienced, they show you what they do, they
Hmm.
teach you how to lead gen, they teach you
Hmm.
how to build your business, but they are not there to give you leads and
Right.
they are not there to really keep you with them. They are really just there to help you for a year or two until you can stand on your own and then
Yeah.
you go off and do your own thing.
This feels like on our podcast, I talk a lot about like an apprenticeship program, and
Yes.
this one feels like that. And I would love to
Yes.
like see this expanded somehow that's mutually beneficial,
Totally.
right? Because
Oh my gosh.
sometimes with these, it's always like the mentor is like giving, 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 but like
Yeah.
there has to be some type of reciprocation, I feel like.
I totally agree. And, where I see this just in, because I talk to so many real estate agents and brokers and everything, I thought of this as, I just recently did an article on mothers and their children who were in the
Hmm.
business together for Mother's Day. And,
Oh, that's
that
cute.
is, yeah, and there's a ton of them.
Mhm.
And that's where I think you see it is, and I was just talking to a client the other day who was saying, everything I do in my business, I learned from my mom,
Yeah.
and so I think that
But
that's
that is
one place where you see a
reciprocal,
lot of that.
though. I mean, that is
Absolutely.
because the parent then feels like they're doing some type of legacy. But what if there
Yes.
is like the problem, I think, becomes when there's no familial relationship or
Right.
there's no benefit for the mentor and it gets exhausting, you know?
Right. And I wonder if it works better maybe in some of these places where you have a downline
Yeah.
or, you have some sort of stake in.
Financial benefit. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think you
yeah.
had
And
mentioned that, like EXP, of course, that's us,
right,
Keller
right.
Williams, Exit Realty, those types of places. It's
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, sometimes you do have mentees who they're younger, they're maybe a little more tuned into social media, maybe they're a little
Mm-hmm.
more tuned into content, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. They can be beneficial in that way, bring in some sort of new ideas
That's
in
true.
that area.
But like my business partner now, Alan
Mhm.
Wisman. Hey, Alan. He's older.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, a lot of people are not sure if we're like married or if he's like my dad or it's really weird. It's super awkward most of the time. but it was like he started off as my mentee. And so
Oh, wow.
so like what he brought to it was more like the back end systems of things. You know what I
Totally.
mean? So yeah.
Yeah. And different people have different strengths. And of course, real estate agents may not all be the really outgoing one that likes a lot of FaceTime. Some of them may
Right.
be, the one that likes to do the contracts and stuff.
Exactly. All right. What's the second one?
So then we had the team leader model, and that's where you have like a really well-defined, really successful team leader who then has a lot of people who kind of work with them to provide great client service.
Right.
But ultimately, the leads belong to the team leader. The structure belongs to the team leader. The team leader provides some things to the people working under them, but it is really designed to kind of feed upwards toward the team leader. And then when those younger team members leave, they're kind of on their own because the leads that come in belong to the team.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is like those, I see a lot of them like this, and they're always like named the team leader's name.
Yes.
And
yes,
we talked
exactly.
about that in our podcast too. Like, should you name your team your name or like something else?
Right.
But like
Exactly.
I see that a lot. And it's a very churn and burn type structure, I feel like, oftentimes.
I think so. And I think if you are really a go-getter, you can learn a ton. You can go out and then duplicate that on your own, but you've got to
starting over.
Right. You've got to somehow figure out a whole lot that you can then use to start really quickly. And you've really got to, I think, put aside a ton of money.
Yeah.
Because when you go out on your own, you're going to then have a lag time before you can really establish.
No, that makes sense. What's the third one?
And then the next one is kind of confusing. It's lead teams. So it's basically where, and I wondered about this because so many people are saying like their third party lead gen is not, producing like it used to. But that's what this is based on. It's based on the idea that, you're putting thousands and thousands of dollars. One guy I looked at in the research does $100,000 in third party lead generation. Yeah, every month.
He needs to stop. Stop it.
Every month.
That's not possible.
Because they are in multiple cities. And so that's the whole thing with this. It's all about scale because
that's expensive.
The margins are so narrow. And so you've got to constantly be bringing people in. You've got to constantly be finding the next new lead gen platform, and you've got to constantly produce. So again, you're paying a whole lot for those leads. And so then when you leave as a younger team member, you really are kind of leaving with nothing to start with. And
the team leader doesn't have anything either though, because it's all too expensive. There's no profit.
Yeah. I don't really even understand how you go from that to building your own business because everything has been sort of done for you and you're just kind of churning it out. So
I don't
that was a wild one. And then we had teamerage, which is sort of the team / brokerage.
Yeah.
And that really, I would say, if I had to think, that's probably where most people were. Most of the people I talked to and most of the research that I did, they're running these larger teams. It's sort of like a mini brokerage, but you don't have the overhead of a brokerage. And so the margins, you're able to sort of, you have a little more to work with. You can put that back into systems and processes. And a lot of the teamerage models, it's like one big happy family and people kind of run their own independent little business in that larger team.
That's what, that's what we had basically too. But then we like adapted it that's what we had at Keller Williams. So it was like, we were our own little, we were Team Synergy and we were like under Keller Williams, but it was like just us. And it was like, 10 of us or whatever. Right. But then that's still an expensive model because you do, even though you don't have the overhead of the brokerage, you still have the administrative overhead of the team because you're not counting on the brokerage for a lot of things. Everything is in-house. And and so then we transferred over to like what I'm calling like the 2.0 version of that.
Yeah.
When we moved over to EXP, because it's like, you can bring in people and you teach them how to run their business. And when they start, they can kind of take some of your systems and models, but they
Mhm.
keep the expenses also. Like you're not bringing
Yes.
them into the fold. They're just using them to like, they're using your listing presentation. They're using your folders just to like get
Right.
going. And it's sort of like a combo of the mentor and the teamerage like together.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I think too, one of the things that I wondered about is, a lot of the brokerage models, a lot of it comes out of having a lot of agents
Yeah.
paying fees, paying
Right.
onboarding, and if you're the teamerage, you don't get all of
You
that.
don't get all of it. No, because you don't
Yeah,
want them to be onboarded by somebody else. We wanted them
right.
to be onboarded into our systems. And so that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like we were doing everything. And it's
Yeah.
like, so I mean, part of what we talk about a lot, and this is probably a different video, but like, do you even need brokerages? Like, what are they do?
Right.
You know what I mean? What in
Yeah.
general, what are brokerages doing? Anyway, that's a
Yeah.
different video, Christy. What is the fifth and final team structure that you saw?
So this is where we get into something a little more loosey-goosey, I would say, the expansions.
Yeah.
Some people call it a platform.
Hmm.
And that is where you're maybe a sort of overarching team, but they may have multiple teams under them.
Right.
And so these are huge, and they can be in multiple markets. They can
Yeah.
really have kind of a nationwide reach.
Yeah.
And so that a lot of people that I talked to were sort of saying this is the wave of the future. It's just this continual consolidation under these larger teams that have been really successful and that can really provide structure. And so
Yeah.
then they may have these sort of corporate features like an HR
Yes.
department and a board and things like that that we associate with like a larger company.
Right.
They are doing that for the teams under their umbrella.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I can see that definitely being like a large portion because you have a bunch of people that are coming from corporate America or they're coming from more
Yes.
structure. And then when they get their
Yes.
license, it's like, what do I do?
Totally.
You know what
Yes.
I
And
mean?
I think that that happened so much and was really accelerated because of the pandemic that a lot of people thought, well, what I've been doing isn't working for me. I'm going to do this other thing. And real
Yeah.
estate is really hot, but they don't, like you say, know where to begin really with
Right.
that. And
It's
so
really
giving them
difficult. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, even if like, even though brokerages, I mean, most brokerages have some type of training program, it's
Mhm.
still like not, it's still not enough, right? Like
No,
it's
no.
not, yeah. Whereas like the expansion teams, like it is the structure. It's like, do this, they give you a schedule, like it's like, do this, do that, here's your accountability, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it
Yes.
is corporate.
And there is
Well,
that
that's not for
motivation
me.
of, yeah, well, there is that motivation of I'm going to be held accountable.
Yes.
And for some people that's really powerful,
Yeah, it's
so
like important for sure. I think it's just
yeah.
a matter of like knowing who you are as a person
Yes.
and knowing the
Right.
people that you want on your team. And that will really
Totally.
help you figure out like, how are we going to structure this? Or
Yeah,
if I want to be on a team, what type do I want to be on? Because so many teams fail. I mean, it's insane the
absolutely.
amount of teams that fail.
And I think, I really believe that the skill set that makes a great agent is not necessarily the same skill set that makes a great team leader.
No, it's
Sometimes it
absolutely
is.
not.
And sometimes you have team leaders who are really smart about it and they know how to get out of their own way and they know how to bring in people who can
Hmm.
help. But sometimes you just have people that they just want to be out there selling all the time. They don't
Yeah,
really want to run a team, but
right,
maybe they want the prestige of a team, or maybe they
right.
want the,
Income
downline of
or
a team.
whatever. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. So I'll put the link to the article in the notes on YouTube so
Thank you.
people can get that. And then if for some reason you don't have Inman, I'll also put it at jennifermertlin.com/vault. But you really should subscribe to Inman
Yeah,
for sure. Now
totally.
tell us about writing real estate. What do you do?
Oh, thank you. I really do real estate writing for real estate agents, companies, and then affiliated industries like
Hmm.
investors and mortgage platforms. And really, it's all the writing that you don't like doing
Which
that
is all of it.
nobody
Yeah.
yeah, nobody wants to do. I always, my thing is, do you hate writing, whatever?
Right.
That's what I love to do. And so, I write a lot of property descriptions, especially right now, and
Hmm.
a lot of bios, websites, blogs, books. So
Cool.
really just everything that's related to, communicating in the written form.
So where can we find out more about that, or how can we get a
Sure.
hold of you?
So my website is writing, WRITING, realestate.com. And you can go there. You can find me on Instagram. You can go to my author page at Inman, and there's a bio there with some links. If you go to Instagram, you can also find the link there is to my course on writing property descriptions. So if you don't want me writing your property description, you want to just get good at it, we have that as well. So lots to offer, and actually be bringing out some additional courses over the next year.
Oh, cool.
I'm working on one right now about, fair housing really has had such an impact. A lot of the conversations we're having there
Hmm.
are having a huge impact on property descriptions and advertising.
Right.
And
Right.
so I really want to kind of distill that and consolidate it and create something that can help people to just understand the nuts and bolts of
That
how
would
you
be
put.
cool if you could get that to be CE too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That'd be
absolutely.
nice. Awesome. So it's writingrealestate.com
Yep.
is a good, or just like Google Christy Murdock. You're pretty easy to find.
I'm pretty easy to find. I'm kind of everywhere.
Awesome. And that's Christy with the CH,
That's
not
right, and a Y.
in a
Mhm.
Y. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for being on, Christy. I really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me. I really appreciate being here.
Have a great day.